episode of Geek Shop. I'm Chetan. With me is Chris. Say hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Okay, Chris. We did last time we talked about European comics. Is there certain European comics that come to your mind that you want to talk about?
Yes, I think a big focus of our last episode was on Belgium because I sort of said like it's a comic book loving country, and the
Yes.
crown jewel in the Belgian world is Tintin. And so I when I was in Belgium, I did a lot of Tintin looking around, and I even went to the Herge Museum, which is Herge is the creator, which actually that isn't his real name.
What's his real name?
It's like I forget it, but it's his initials are R and G, L
Oh,
J in French. So his name is Hergé. So it's just his initials turned into a
okay.
word.
Okay. Yes.
So
I never knew that.
I didn't either because I went to the Hergé Museum, which is what something we'll talk
And
about.
that's where you learned about it. Now,
Exactly.
before we talk anymore on Tintin and stuff like that, I have to admit, and hope I'm not the only one. Tintin never impressed me, honestly.
You are definitely not the only one because I've been posting some pictures about it, and a few comic people that I know are sort of like, I never got into Tintin.
Mind you, I bought Asterix, and I love that. I mean,
Yeah,
okay, it's humor and stuff like that, but Tintin never got into it.
I love it. I love Tintin.
That's one of the European comics that I never got into.
Maybe I'll change your mind after showing you some of this cool stuff about the history
Mind
of
you,
this.
I did. My wife and I, we did go and see the Tintin movie that Spielberg did. I mean,
Yep.
okay, I mean that has nothing to do, it's still we went to see the movie, stuff like that. I read Tintin books, but it just didn't do anything to me. It was just like read it, okay, whatever.
There's a little bit you have to like the thing about Tintin books is there's the first few that he made, and then at a certain point he changed it a little bit, and then it got better. And the other thing too is you have to look at a little bit about what was going on during the time because at certain points, like he had to worry about like Nazis in his real life. And so he
Oh
had to like get
yes.
away from doing political things. And that's why that's why Tintin goes to the moon and goes to places like that because he had to be less political with his stuff. So there's sort of like this interesting thing when you look at like the history of it, it really is interesting. But
Oh,
to me,
it's not even just that. It's just the art style. I mean, he's a great artist. His work is great, whatever. Just never did anything to me.
hmm,
It's not where, looking at other artists and stuff and go, hey, wow, forget about the stories and what, subject matter, all that stuff, but the art, it just didn't do anything to me.
part of it is his line is very dead. Like it's a very sort of mono
Yeah,
single
it is that
line,
one. It seems like he just used one marker and that's it.
pretty much.
Or one tech pen and that's it.
That's pretty much his style was that. I mean, there's no doubt. And but again, some of the later stuff that when they got more and more artists was amazing, and his use of blacks is amazing. Like when you get into like some of
Okay,
his later stuff.
you have to convince me and all those people who commented on your post. Convince us.
Okay, so we're gonna start a little. I'll show you some the world of Tintin in Brussels. So the first thing you have to know is this is actually at their train station.
Train
Um,
station.
so this
Oh
is how much
wow.
they love him. So they recreated one of the scenes from a Tintin comic at the train station in Brussels, the main train
Wow.
station. And that's not the only one. There's also let's see here. So this is also at their train station. So this is
Nice.
gigantic. This is like maybe like 30
Oh
30
yeah, I
feet by
see the
30 feet.
escalator here, and yeah, you're right. That side. Okay.
So it's like, and again, if you look at the blacks, like look at the use of blacks in that. It's just
Yeah.
amazing stuff. Um, and then this is actually in the last episode, I was showing you that they had walls all over
Yeah.
stuff with cartoonists. So they have, of course, did a Tintin wall,
Wow.
and it's amazing. So again, this is you go into just about every store. This was just at a gift shop, like and they have tons and tons of Tintin stuff. And look at all the languages.
That's what I was going to ask. I saw the languages, and I'm going, wait a minute. You know, that's a great idea. Have it in multiple languages.
They
Because
actually have in the LJ Museum, they have a room that has every one of the books in all the languages it's ever been, and it's just a room, and it's like wallpapered with every cover that they've ever done in every single language they've ever done it in.
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff.
But
So
even this, like a bookstore having that, that's a great idea.
the other thing that Tintin has is a lot of like artwork stuff. So this is actually at a store in downtown Brussels, and they sell statues. And the one of Tintin there is about 4 or 5 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
So it's like it's you know they love Tintin. Um, so this is actually an interesting thing. This was near my hotel. If you look at the top of that building,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. That's his head, right?
so that is actually the original building where Tintin was first published.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't think they actually publish there anymore, but that sign is like is a monument. Like nobody
Yeah.
will take it down, and they keep it up there and they keep it
Wow.
maintained, and it lights up at night and everything like that. So it's a really popular thing. But that was just a couple blocks from my hotel that I was staying at, and not such a nice neighborhood anymore, but it's still like considered a huge important part.
Yeah,
I guess it's a
historical
historical site.
yeah.
So we're talking about the Tintin. I went to the LJ Museum, which is about a 45-minute train ride out of Brussels. It's actually at a university, and I'm not sure, and I'm going to try and get some more information. I'm thinking about we might do a future episode about it again, but I think the university is the caretaker of all of his original art. So I'm going to just go through some of his original art right here. This is a famous cover from an episode where it's like a Tintin in a shark submarine. Again, the use of blacks in this art is just
Now,
amazing.
let me ask you this. When you looked at the original art, let's say focus on this one with the factory, how big was the original art?
It was about standard comic book size, like what we would draw.
So it's small, not like 18 by 24 or 19 by, like the Golden Age art size.
No, no, no. It was maybe a little bigger than common stuff, but not much. Like it was fairly
See, that's
small.
the reason I ask is I was wondering if there was a format that Europeans work at, certain size, where, North American attitude was, during that time before the digital age was 11 by 17, or what the Golden Age printed, Golden Age had a larger page size. So
Yeah.
I was wondering if Europeans had that same, you know, uh, specifications for page layouts and, sizing.
I didn't remember. I don't remember totally, but I do remember it being a little more squat. So it isn't. I think their books are a little more square than
They are compared to
comics.
ours.
So
Yes.
same with the pages. So and this is actually we were talking about what pen he uses. This is actually his old desk with his pens
Oh,
uh,
wow.
at the top. And actually, I got a close up of and basically he just had like two or three pens. That was
Okay,
it.
so here's the thing. Go back to the other image of his desk. Did he work flat? That's a question, or did he lift the desk up a little?
I think he worked flat.
That's interesting because I used to work flat all the time, and of course going to art school and stuff like that, you should angle your artwork this way. And same thing with reading articles and stuff. And when I see that, I'm going, okay. I I know a lot of people who work on a flat surface.
I tend to be more flat now than I have a little tabletop drawing thing that
Yeah.
has a little back thing that I can tilt it up, but I never do it. I'm mostly flat, like it's a slight angle.
I'm just looking at the pencil layouts. Wow.
Oh, there'll be more. We'll get more.
Okay. Wow.
So so this is some of his early stuff. This is like when Tintin first started. It's still a lot of blacks, but it definitely looks more sort of a cartoon strip of like the 1940s and even the
Yeah.
20s. He did a lot of commercial art too. So this is for another magazine that he did. So he when he started, he was a commercial artist and he did Tintin as well. So again, and this is a shot he worked for like the Boy Scouts. They had a book in Brussels and he did cartoons for it.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So this is like when he was like a teenager or a kid,
Yeah.
early stuff. The cool thing was this is the earliest drawing that they know he's ever done.
Oh, wow.
And so they have that at the museum. This is the great thing. This museum has like the early stuff.
All his early stuff.
And
Yeah.
then this is the last drawing he ever did.
Wow.
So they have the last drawing and the first drawing he ever did. The interesting thing, I teased this in the last episode. I was going to talk about this. The last comic he ever did, he died in the middle of making it.
Really?
So they had the basic storyline, they had the basic layouts, but he hadn't finished the work and everything. And so there was, in North America, what they would normally do is get an artist that could fill it out, because he had a studio by then, so he had people who could fill it
Yeah.
out. But if you actually buy the last comic book, the last Tintin comic book, it's unfinished. And what they did is they put the pages that were finished, because you started from the beginning and went to the end. So the first pages are normal, but just black and white. And then it gets to just pencils, because that's as far as it was when he would die. Then it gets to this page, and then after that, it's just script.
See, that's great. That's honoring the guy's legacy and work where you don't want some, not to say his studio people are great, we're not going to do a great job, but it's better to just, like you said, just leave it that way and not, complete it.
So the last book he did is, you can read the whole thing because the script was finished.
Yeah.
But you can't, like, it gets to this page, that's it. And then it's just scripts. And it was great. It was a really cool thing. And you can buy it. It's still in print and it's still a popular comic. So, so this is, I thought I'd show, the one thing I would say is he is a master and uses cut and paste like crazy. Like, if you look at that, you can see the different colors of the paper.
Oh, now I see the cut. Yeah, you're right. A lot of cut and paste. Yeah.
Lots. And this is another one. This is a really famous cover.
I remember. Yes, everyone remembers this cover.
So the funny thing is if you look really close, it's been cut. So if you look, the entire space scene, like the rocket and the background, has been cut. And so it's actually two images.
You're right. Yeah.
And so, like, again,
this is where I'd like to see an artist edition of this thing, because look at the artwork. You're seeing like you said, cutouts, whiteouts, everything.
This is another great one. This is from that series. And so it's a beautiful picture of the moon. But if you look closely at the moon, you'll see some whiteout.
Oh, the rocket.
So originally he had the rocket down there.
Down there, yeah.
And he changed it.
See, this is stuff I like to see.
Yeah. Oh, this museum is fantastic. So it's like, and then again, look at the cutouts that are there.
Yeah,
like,
you're right. Yeah.
So much cut. I think I saw a video of him drawing at one point, and at a certain point, he kind of lays out the pages. I think he kind of sketches them out, but then I think then I saw him with a bunch of little things just gluing stuff. So I think it's almost a collage of his own art.
Now, just a question. Looking at the paper, that's thin paper.
Yeah.
He's not working on cardstock. That looks like almost like just a grade above tracing paper.
I think it's a little bit better. I think he was light boxing, because a lot of his pencils still exist. Well, actually, I'll show you them later. But I think a lot of his pencils.
Right, because in those days, light boxes were very popular.
Yeah, so I think, and then again, this is like cut out. Like,
oh wow,
it's mostly cut out. Like, I think he just drew the squares. It's almost like Seth.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he's drawing the bits and sort of like, okay, well, I'll draw this little square. And again, he had a studio at this point, but the other thing to look at here is the blacks, like amazing use of blacks.
Yeah.
Just amazing. And again, more cutout for the word balloons and everything.
Maybe going back to what I was saying about his artwork, I like to see just all black and white version of this book.
So a lot of his books, up to a certain point, there was one where Tintin goes to China. Everything before that, when it originally came out, was black and white. And then they went back and recolored it.
Most of the ones I've seen were all color.
Yeah, because they went back and he went back and recolored all of his early ones.
Recolored, okay.
Because there was this idea, because at the time when they started, there wasn't the money to print color, like it wasn't
color
cheap.
And stuff. Yes.
But then when he got to a certain point, it was viable, and so he went back and recolored. And I actually have a still of one of his early color sketches.
The artists and stuff, you get to appreciate their artwork more in black and white than color, because sometimes color kind of kills the line work and everything, and you don't appreciate,
Yeah.
Color could be hit and miss. Oh wow.
Another thing, you can even see like the gorilla in this thing is like cut out almost entirely in some of them.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So the other thing to talk about is when he became popular, they would actually build models. So this is the rocket ship. There's the rocket ship there. They actually built a full scale model of the rocket as a reference tool.
Oh, you mean his studio?
The studio. This isn't just a toy.
Oh,
This is what they did for the studio. And actually, there's this little tank toy that they did,
oh
right as in
wow.
the comic book. So
I
like,
guess we're drawing in whatever purpose. It's like, let's say your mannequin model. You can
yeah.
move it around and stuff like that. That's a great idea. I
And
mean,
then
I know
there's
I've
this.
done that where I bought toy cars and stuff to reference.
So by this point, he was quite popular and he had the money. And so this little machine was used in like one or two panels of a comic book, and that was it. And then here's some more example of like just cut out stuff that's just amazing.
Wow, the detailing, like the brick wall and the the engravings and everything. Wow.
So with this, with a lot of the background stuff, it's sort of like Dave Sim. LJ did not do many of the backgrounds. He
No,
did
no,
most
but
of the
still, I
characters.
mean, you have a system. No, a lot. Almost every North American artist had assistants and stuff like that. So, you
Well,
know,
like I said, Cerebus was Dave Sim didn't do any of the
yeah,
background.
Gerhard did all of the
Yeah.
backgrounds and all that stuff.
So, and then this is some of his commercial art stuff that he did before. So he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
So here's the pencil stuff.
Oh, wow. This is amazing.
So this is why I think he lightboxed because there's a lot of his pencil stuff. And so I mean, obviously, if you're inking over it, it wouldn't exist. Also, I think it probably gave him a cleaner line. Like if you look at
I think so. Yeah.
if you look at his ink stuff, there's no like traces of pencil anywhere on it. So I think they just inks.
Wow. This is amazing.
Yeah. And then this is an interesting example. This is a page they never used, but it's sort of his like that's how rough he got when he started.
Yeah.
You know, just beautiful stuff.
Wow.
I mean, he inked a little bit on top, but I don't think that was necessarily used. Again, this is a great example. This is how rough his early pages would be. You know, just literally just circles and blobs and really simple stuff.
See, this is amazing to see. Why don't they
Yeah.
publish your stuff in a book?
I think they have. I think I
Okay.
think just about every actually there's a giant, you know, huge book of everything that's in the museum.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's funny because at one point, you know, I got separated from Allison, and she happened to have left me in the room where they had copies of the book just sitting around, and I just sat there for the entire time. I didn't move, just flipping through the book because it was amazing. And again, this is his really, he did a lot of sketches, and so he was just like really rough things out, like just
Yeah.
doodles.
Oh, the figures are amazing.
Yeah, like just amazing. So this is an interesting this was an interesting turn of events in his life. He was doing at a certain point in his life, a lot of his stuff could be considered racist. So like Tintin would go to Africa and he'd get stuck in a pot of boiling, you know, the natives
Yeah.
would boil him and stuff. And then what happened was in Belgium there was or in Europe there was a lot of shipping coming in, and he went to a shipping port, and a lot of foreigners were coming into Europe, and he met a Chinese man, and the Chinese man started explaining what China was actually like, and it changed his mind. He's like, oh my God, so it isn't this, you know, big buck tooth racist sort of thing. He realized that there was this culture that was like really interesting in China. And so he started doodling. These are some of his doodles of him sort of
Oh,
doodling
nice.
Chinese people, trying not to be racist about it, trying not to go with the stereotypes. And then he changed the entire book, entire sort of theming of the book changed.
That's
A,
great to hear. But
a lot of the stuff.
I mean, during those times, I hate to say it, not to say it's wrong or right to do it or whatever, but a lot of creators were doing that type of stuff, whether they're black, white, Chinese, whatever. They had the racial stereotypes and everything. And I'm glad he experienced this and, wanted to change it.
Yeah, it's just it's amazing. And then this was actually so this is the
Oh,
cover
right.
of that. This is when he first started using color.
Wow.
So basically what happened was is during this when that shift happened, it was kind of coincidence that the shift to being a lot less racist and cartoony about it and a lot more sort of
So
actually
now
interested in
here's a
culture.
question for you. Now, before he met the Chinese gentleman, would he would have put a dragon like that in there? Because that's where someone's explaining to him the Chinese culture and the influences of dragons and the red dragon and all that stuff in their culture. Where before before he met that person, I don't think he would have done it in this style.
No, he wouldn't. And that's definitely in the museum they talk about it. And if you read the books in order, which I've
Yeah.
actually never done, I've never actually read them all in order. There's just this shift and it's really kind of interesting. And there's a lot more sort of it's more about the intrigue and the interest and the idea of traveling as opposed to what
Yes.
somebody who's never left Belgium thinks that the world looks like.
Yes.
So it's kind of an interesting thing. And there's also lots of cool toys and memorabilia that they have because, Tintin is definitely a global phenomenon when it comes to like merchandising and everything like that.
So
So he's
in Belgium, do you find Tintin like North America where, you know, I hate to say this in a wrong way, but is it in your face like Mickey Mouse? Like, shoving it down your throat.
I would say yes, in that it's in every gift shop, like every tourist shop, you're going to find Tintin stuff. But
But
it's
but
like,
Mickey Mouse came to a point where you were sick of it, seeing it everywhere.
yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sick of it because I don't see Tintin everywhere. So I don't know. I don't know if
That's it.
somebody
Yes.
from Belgium might be like, oh, Tintin, okay, whatever. But maybe somebody from like, obviously like a foreigner like me comes into Belgium. I'm like,
And we're not seeing it that
this
often.
is
Yeah.
amazing. I can eat this stuff up. So, you know, so I will, so there, that was my,
Oh, okay. You got me curious on looking into his work more now.
yeah,
Okay. Compared to 20 minutes ago where I said, I'm not a fan of his, now I do have to say I'm impressed by seeing this work.
yeah,
And especially the pencil, and you're right, the black and white work, just seeing the black and white. Now, mind you, I'm guilty of it also. I didn't seek out his black and white work. I just seen, the colored stuff, and like you said, from the library or bookstore or whatever, when I got his book, Tintin books, looked at that. Wasn't a huge fan of, but now looking at this, I'm saying I have to look in more into detail in this.
And you know what? His stories, the thing about his stories is they're very slow paced. Like it's not like this, like, super action, super fight. Like sometimes
Yes.
it's just something kind of silly and it's a little bit cliche. Like, like the dog will solve the thing or it'll get,
Yes.
but it's like if the one thing is he did these a while ago, he wrote a lot of those cliches. Like a lot of cliches that we use in comic books were his
But you
ideas.
have to remember, one thing with cliches and what you just mentioned about Tintin is, and this is where I'm going on, you know, away from, again, this is a talk we've had so many times, away from North American culture. A lot of European culture, Japanese culture, and the Indian culture and Chinese culture will produce a book or movie that you can watch it with your grandparents, you can watch it by yourself or your kids, and all of you will enjoy it. And that's the
Yeah,
same thing with comics, where Tintin, it's aged at a 5-year-old to a 90-year-old.
exactly. And I think there might be a bit of time where you don't get into it, like when you want super action, hardcore, and everything like a
No,
teenager.
but it's made there that any age group would appreciate it if they want to read it or
Yeah.
look at it. And same thing with, like I said, about movies and stuff like that, where Indian culture, I know movies, we could sit down with my kids or my parents, and all of us will watch it together.
Yeah. What I would recommend if you want to get into Tintin, I mean, you can definitely start at the beginning if you want, but start at the one where he goes to China. I think it's oddly enough, I think it's called like the Blue Orchid, but just a fluke. I had nothing to do with it.
Where have I heard that name before?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
work it.
but but yeah, that's a good one to start. That's when he shifted to do more realistic, and then he gets away from realistic because that's when he starts to get into trouble about doing political stuff because you know Second World War happens and the
Yes,
Nazis are
that's
there.
it.
And so he doesn't want to cause trouble that way. So it's like, so he starts to get some more far-fetched things like going to the moon and everything like that. But it's really, and the other thing that I love about his stuff, it's just like I was showing you like the machines that they would build. They just like, he draws cars and it's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so when you look at the machinery that they build and everything like that, it's amazing. And the characters too have this flow about them that they move, you know, there's
Yeah.
action and everything. So it's, I feel like maybe as an older person, you might appreciate Tintin again.
No, I think, you know what, it's one of those things where I think at a younger age, you know, looking at comics and graphic novels and stuff like that, you know, somebody, and we've, you know, our previous episode, European artists, some of the artists blew me away and stuff like that, where, you know, Tintin and, I mean, you know, even Tintin, even manga comics. I was never into manga when I was a teenager. It's just, you know, the big eyes, all that stuff and thing. Now I'm looking at the artwork and appreciating it more, like even the older manga artists and stuff like that. And even like, you know, like looking at this stuff with Tintin here, the pencil work. Now I want to go back and now I want to look it up and, you know, look in detail on the pencil work, the line work, you know, it's
I'll
a
send
lot
you
of
those
work.
pictures so you can look at them some more.
Yes. No, no, no. It's great. I mean, it's great seeing all of this stuff.
Yeah,
Now,
and
sorry.
I was gonna say it's a great museum. If anybody is ever in Belgium and thinking about going, it's outside of the city. It's like an hour outside the city, but there's a train that takes you almost right there. It's so worth it.
Now, here's a question which I know North American comics always put it in their graphic novels and stuff. Like example, Watchmen, 20th printing. I'm wondering how many printings of Tintin have gone through
Oh,
over the
they have
years.
millions of copies, like millions and millions and millions. Like they actually have numbers at the museum, and it's
Really,
just like, yeah, it's like it's. I think even just the number of languages, like over 100 languages, has been printed in.
that's great. That's great to hear
So it's
because
like,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and again, nobody cares. Like nobody goes in there and goes, "Oh, this is not a first printing." It's
And
like,
one thing with Tintin is I do remember, like we talked about in our European episode, I saw Tintin at a regular bookstore, seen him in no grocery stores that wouldn't carry that type of stuff, but regular bookstores, even at the airport, I remember seeing things like that and travel, you know, driving around, you'd walk into stores and stuff. I remember seeing Tintin. I remember seeing that name everywhere.
and
Like this,
libraries,
and
libraries that was a
libraries
big
had
one
it.
for me.
Yes, libraries had it, and I mean
Yeah.
that's a huge kudos to the the staff who ordered that stuff. For that, that's like, yeah,
I feel like Scholastic actually republished them in North America. And I think that's where I remember seeing them too. And I think that's a big part of it. Why it did okay in libraries is because Scholastic, I think, was doing the reprinting and they've
think about
fun.
this way. I mean, when you were a teenager and I was a teenager, going back so many years ago to now, going across 40 years now, 50 years, we still see those books,
Yeah.
same ones.
Yeah.
So that means something's right there.
And they haven't made a new one since he died,
And that's it, yeah. And you're
but it's
still getting
still
that
selling.
audience. And
Yeah.
here's the thing, let's say someone like you, who might have had the one with the rocket ship to the moon or whatever. I can't remember the title of it. You probably had it as a kid, might have gotten rid of it, got damaged. At an older age, 10 years, 15 years later, you're going, hey, I want to buy this. I want to read it again.
Yeah. I
And
even
it's,
bought a postcard of it.
yeah. See, and and you'll read it over and over again. There's
Yeah.
certain books and certain creations, comic creations that constantly you read over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I think that's the thing. I think comic books in North America get that a little bit because like they do reproduce, like I've read Amazing Fantasy 15. But it's in a reprint, but it's like just the idea that why isn't Amazing Fantasy 15 re-released regularly?
Yeah, regularly, yes. Okay, here's a question before we end this episode. Tintin, Steven Spielberg did the movie 20 some years ago or whatever it was. Did they ever do an animated series on Tintin?
Yeah, there is definitely.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, there is some animated stuff. I don't know
Was
how
it
much. I don't know if they've
European
redone the
companies
whole.
or North American?
I've seen it in English for sure.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was just for England, and I just got it, but I've definitely seen the animated stuff. On the other hand, I'm kind of, because I studied animation, so I was like
Then yes.
deep into
Now,
stuff. And
like I said, I never got into Tintin when I was younger, and even if it came on, I probably just skipped my mind saying, "Ah, I don't care," you
yeah,
know, So I don't recall that, but the movie I remember for some reason my wife and I went to see it.
it was a good movie. I didn't hate
Yeah,
it.
it was the
You know,
weird stop motion and no, was it a computer generated weird? It had that
yeah,
weird look to it. Yeah,
it looked almost human, but not quite.
not quite. Yes.
Yeah.
But no, this was an interesting episode on Tintin, and it opened my mind more on looking into Tintin and the books and everything because yeah, you converted me into not hating Tintin. It worked. One person, Chris.
There you go. There you go. Well,
Uh,
like I say, I don't mind if, because it's not going anywhere. They're selling enough, and as long as I can still get it, I'm
yeah,
happy.
that's it. Yes.